Welcome to the Peter Joe Podcast, where we talk about everything from life and mental health to entertainment and past and current events. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin, my fellow Peters. Hello, welcome back to the Peter Joe Podcast. Hope everyone had a good day. I'm recording at night, very late at night now. But today I had a lot of highs and lows. Started off good. Then I heard the news about the main shooter. Now that he's on the loose and they're trying to catch him. Last news story I read, they were right outside of the house they think he's in, or the neighborhood at least. But they still haven't caught him yet from what I understand. So hopefully they do. Anyways, today is going to be a Halloween episode. I'm going to talk about my top 10 horror movies compared to the Rotten Tomatoes top 10 list that they did in 2022. It was basically a poll on their site, and all the members of Rotten Tomatoes voted. So I'm going to give you Rotten Tomatoes top 10 horror movies and my top 10 horror movies and see if they match up at all. Alright, I wanted to do this because Halloween is only 4 days away. I wanted to do some Halloween and horror content because October is my favorite month and it's just fitting. So, like I said, what I'm going to do is go over the top 10 for Rotten Tomatoes and my top 10. I will explain why people voted for the Rotten Tomatoes list and why mine are on the list. Sorry, I fixed my mic here. I was originally going to go off of the highest rated Rotten Tomatoes scores for horror movies. But if you would have seen that list, it was all over the place. Like, it had King Kong on there, which is not a horror movie. Sorry. It had just a bunch of like movies that you were like, what? Why is this on the list? But anyways, so I feel like this polled list is a way better list. It has actual true horror movies in it. Also, if you're listening to this, you could comment your favorite horror movie, which movie I didn't have in my top 10 that should have been there, you think. It's all opinionated. But I would love to see your comments and discussions about that. Make it like kind of an interactive one here. Alright, so we're going to start at number 10 on the Rotten Tomatoes Scariest Horror Films. Number 10 on their list is the 2017 remake of It. If you don't know what It is a Stephen King adaptation. The book is phenomenal. I'm a big Stephen King fan, and it's probably my favorite horror book by him. I don't count The Stand. The Stand is my all-time favorite Stephen King book. But It is just, it's a terrifying book for being a book. This masterpiece, I think it blows away the original. It's just my opinion. A lot of people love the 90s version with Tim Curry, I think, plays Pennywise. But yeah, so number 10, that's a pretty good pick. So my number 10 is The Ring from 2002. If anybody remembers this film, it was based off of a Japanese version that was called Ringu. So the American version, it has so many memorable scares. I love the story about the haunted VHS tape and like the fucking crazy chick climbing out of the TV when you played the tape. Something about like Japanese film, like their horror. I know this is an American adaptation, but it's very much based off of the original. They could just do horror so well, so much better than us, I think. Let's see. So the one scene that sticks with me is, anybody who has watched it, there's a scene where the first chick that watched it, they show her in her closet and her fucking head just like falls over, and it's like, I don't know if that doesn't sound scary, but when you watch it, like the timing is perfect. It is really scary. So yeah, this, like I said, it had a bunch of memorable scares, and it relied on jump scares. It wasn't gore scares like Saw, so there was no cheap scares. It was just very well timely placed horror set pieces on this movie. But the sequels after it, there's just some really bad sequels. I think there was Ring 2, Rings was one of them. but they just don't compare to the first one or the Japanese version. All right, so let's get to number 9 on the Rotten Tomatoes list. They have Insidious, 2010. Oh, I have such mixed feelings on this one. I can see why it's on the list. A lot of people love Insidious. It's a very beloved franchise. They had a bunch of different ones to come out after. I think like they're on their 4th one or something like that. Like I said, I can see why it's in the list, but I personally don't have it in my top 20, let alone top 10. It's creepy for sure. My problem is the protagonist, like the scary dude in it, has a red and black face, and he just reminds me so much of Darth Maul from Star Wars. I can't get past it. Like, I don't know. This is goofy. He got claws in the one scene. It looks like he's flying through the air. Like, I don't know. Something about the main bad ghost that just... I didn't find it creepy. I found it silly. Almost felt like it was straight out of a scary movie. On number 9 on my list, this is a very much a cult film. It's called Identity. It came out in 2003. John Cusack's in it. I don't remember who else. I'll look it up, but this movie was like the first horror / mystery movie that I could ever remember. I'll tell you the cast in a second here. I can't find it right now. Anyways, John Cusack's in it. There's a bunch of other good actors. I think Ray Liotta is in it. Amanda... I want to say Amanda Bynes. I can't remember. There's a lot of good actors in it. But the story is amazing. It's a whodunit horror mystery. So basically the premise of the movie is 10 people are stuck. They had to stay in this like side of the road hotel or motel. I don't remember the name of the motel. So 10 people get stuck during a severe thunderstorm. Like power lines are down. There's a tree in the middle of the road. It's like in the middle of nowhere motel. So anyway, someone in the group of people that are staying there are going around murdering other people. Like, other people out of the group are getting murdered by somebody. They don't know who, but this twist at the end of the movie is probably the best twist in horror film history. That's the way I feel about it. You gotta watch it. So good. So underrated. I think it was rated PG-13, so you might be able to watch it with like your older kids. Alright, number 8, this is the Rotten Tomato list, is Sinister, 2012. Another really good movie here. Ethan Hawke's in it, he plays the protagonist. I believe he finds like weird footage hidden in this house that he buys, if I'm not mistaken. I remember it has a really good story. There's jump scares and there's gore. I just remember it being really creepy. One of those movies you don't want to watch by yourself in the dark. It was good, but it's not my top 10, but it's in Rotten Tomatoes top 10 at number 8. So my number 8 is a movie called 1408. It's a Stephen King adaptation of a short story. This movie has John Cusack again. I love John Cusack. So he's in 2 of these movies on the list. Because he makes great horror movies too. Like, he's in like 3 or 4 horror movies. And 1408 is amazing. It's about a haunted hotel. Well, yeah, I guess it's kind of a haunted hotel. More the room 1408 is the haunted part of the hotel, the haunted room. I believe he writes for a newspaper, or he's a writer. So he basically goes around staying in these scary places. And he is not afraid of this place. He's like, oh, this is bullshit. There's no way it has all these ghosts. There's no way people died in this room. So he goes in not believing in it. He's like, all right, I'll book a room. I think Samuel L. Jackson is the hotel manager that he talks to. He's like, all right, I'll book you in the room. Well, it is Samuel L. Jackson was like, yeah, motherfucker, I'll book you in room 1408. So he puts him in 1408. John Cusack, he's being like, oh, I'm not going to be scared. I'm just going to get some sleep. He takes his medicine. I think he's drinking. He's typing a report about the hotel room. And then all of a sudden, shit just hits the fan. Like, ghosts are appearing. He sees a ghost of like a guy jump out of the window. And he thinks it's real. But yeah, he starts to lose his mind slowly. but surely in this room throughout the night. Yeah, so basically he goes completely insane. I don't remember the exact ending. Plus, I don't want to spoil it for you. But I don't remember if he gets out or not. But yeah, it's a terrifying, claustrophobic movie. Because he's basically in this room the whole time, and he can't get out of it. So yeah, that's a fantastic movie. It's very underrated by horror fans. You won't see it in a lot of people's top 10. Number 7 on the Rotten Tomatoes poll. The original Halloween, 1978. I'm sure a lot of you are too young to remember this. It's a great movie. It really is. It was like, I think it might have been the first slasher film. I want to say it was before Friday the 13th. But yeah, I think Friday the 13th started in the 80s. So Halloween was 1978. Other than Psycho, I think this is the other slasher film from the old days. It deserves to be top 10. It was right on my list of top 10 almost. It was on the brink. So it's an honorable mention for me. I love the original. Jamie Lee Curtis is great in it. It's a timeless piece of history, piece of horror art, the first one. But I just personally like Rob Zombie's a little better, but they're both amazing. So my number 7, I don't think this is a cult hit. I think a lot of people know about it. It's called The Strangers, 2008. Whew. The Strangers just shows you don't need a crazy story for a horror movie to work. It's a very simple idea. This married couple, I think they're on their honeymoon phase. They're staying in this like really nice cabin-y type house. And then they hear this fucking pounding on the door, like, and oh my god, it's another claustrophobic horror film. Like, you feel like you're trapped in the house with them, and these people are just pounding on the door, and they're wearing these masks that look like just these freaks, and they slowly make their way into the house. It's very claustrophobic, very, very scary. Kind of gruesome, some parts. It's one of those movies where the bad guys win, unfortunately. But you have to watch it if you haven't seen it. Oh, fun fact here. The actor who plays Dennis in Always Sunny has a small role in this. Really small role, but I just thought that was a fun fact. Alright, number 6. Rotten Tomatoes. They have The Ring, 2002. This is the American version. I had this one at number 10. They have it at number 6. So they're on both of our lists. Like I said, this was on my top 10 list. I'll never argue against this horror giant. Like, it really sets the stage for early 2000s horror movies and beyond. So that's our number 6. My number 6, fucking Rob Zombie. The House of a Thousand Corpses. Rob Zombie, fantastic writer, director, creator. This movie has such a cult following. Horror fans fucking love this movie, and I could see why. It's my number 6, so I probably could have put it higher, but there was too many good ones above it that I couldn't really move it around much. This movie has one of the most horrifying and brutal atmospheres. It's like a family of misfits that they basically kidnap a bunch of, I guess, younger kids. Actually, Rainn Wilson from The Office, who plays Dwight, is in this movie. So yeah, you feel locked in the house with the victims. The makeup in this movie by Rob Zombie is fantastic. His wife is in it. I forget her name. Sherry something. But her scream and laugh in this is so, like, it's so legendary. She's such a fantastic actress. The soundtrack was really good too, because Rob Zombie doing it, of course. Of course it's going to be good. So, my friends, we're halfway to number 1. I hope you're enjoying the journey of hearing these great horror flicks and the stories behind them. Like I said at the start of this, write in the Write in the comments your favorite horror movie, what horror movie we're missing, which ones on the list should be higher or lower, etc. All right, so let's keep this grotesque train a rolling. Number 5. This is Rotten Tomatoes number 5. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original 1974. Brutal, gory, vicious movie. I think for a long time they were saying this is actually based off something. I just think it's based off of a bunch of serial killer stories, of actual serial killers. Like trying to think of the dude that used to like dig up victims from graves and wear their skin. So that's basically what the main baddie from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface, he wears his victim's skin, which is so creepy. This is one of the movies that I want to see Rob Zombie actually try to remake, like he did with Halloween, because I think he would do a fantastic job. They had a 2000s version with Jessica Biel, which I actually like too. Both of them are great. The original from 1974 and the 2000s one with Jessica Biel. Both fantastic. They both didn't change a lot, or the newer one didn't change a lot. They kept it pretty simple, which is a good thing. So my halfway pick at number 5. Oh, hold on. I lost where I was at. Okay, so my number 5 is Event Horizon. This was, I didn't write the year. I want to say it was 1996. Between 1994 and 1996. Really creepy movie. It takes place on a spaceship in space, and basically the spaceship makes everybody go crazy on the ship. So basically, the ship is alive. It's creating duplicates of people that are on the ship. So a lot of the crew is just fucking around with people, acting completely different, almost like they're possessed. It's just a really good space movie. If you like science fiction and you like horror, it's the perfect mix. Plus you're trapped in space. Like, it's nothing scarier than being trapped in space. And you lost your mind. Alright, number 4, Rotten Tomatoes. We got the original Shining, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Fun fact, Stephen King absolutely hates this adaptation by Stanley Kubrick, because I could see his point. Stanley Kubrick changed a lot of shit from the book, but it is absolutely terrifying, this movie. All hail to crazy Jack Torrance. Jack Nicholson plays Jack Torrance. Probably the best performance in horror movies of all time. I don't even think people can argue that one. Yeah, so this is a timeless movie. It kicks ass. I don't want to talk too much about it because I may have it in my top 10. I may. So my number 4 is It, 2017. This was the remake. We talked about this earlier because Rotten Tomatoes has it at number 10, I believe. I have it at number 4. This is, like I said earlier, my favorite Stephen King horror novel. It's a perfect version of the first half of the horror book, because anybody that read the book, it's in 2 parts, basically. It's the same book, but it's 2 parts. So the first 500 pages are part 1. The last 400 pages are part 2. So this is the first one. The first remake is basically half the first book. To me, it blows away the Tim Curry version from the 90s, which was goofy. Skarsgård, the actor, Bill Skarsgård, I believe, played the role to a T. The sewer scene in the beginning of the movie, where the little boy loses his boat, the boat floats away into the sewer, and Pennywise is waiting in the sewer, and rips his arm off. Oh my god, that scene still gets to me right now. Gives me goosebumps. So it's cool, yeah. Rotten Tomatoes has this at 10. I have it at 4. All right, here we go. We're in the top 3 of the Rotten Tomatoes list, and their number 3 is, as voted, is The Conjuring. This is a 2013 movie starring the beautiful Vera Farmiga. Beautiful. perfection. I'm talking about Vera Farmiga, not the movie. Anyways, this James Wan masterpiece. He also did Insidious. I think he did. Let me go back up because I think he did. He did another movie that's on the list. Oh, I believe he did Sinister. He did Insidious. And he did The Conjuring. I think those are his main horror titles. He might have done Saw too. I don't remember if he did the Saw series. This movie has a really good cast. Lots of good jump scares and things hiding in the background. It's a movie you have to watch twice to see all the little subtleties and ghosts in the back. So, yeah, it's a really good movie. It's not in my top 10, but it could easily be in my top 20. Easily. Alright, so my number 3 horror movie is the one, the only, The Notebook. This horror film is about a notebook that is haunted with the love of two overrated actors have for each other. Alright, I'll stop. It's obviously not my number 3. My real number 3 has such an amazing love story between a sweet guy named Jack and a woman who is afraid of her own shadow. Wendy! If you haven't already guessed, it is The Shining, Stanley Kubrick edition. This was already on Rotten Tomatoes list, I believe at 5? Let me see. Wait, where the hell did I see that? I know it's on the list for Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, yeah, they had it at number 4. I have it at number 3. So I have The Shining at number 3. I talked a little bit about this. Jack Nicholson is the crazy psycho Jack Torrance. The soundtrack is so eerie. If you were just able to listen to the audio of this movie and not actually watch the picture, you would be freaked the fuck out because the soundtrack is perfect. It really is. It sets the tone of the movie. Makes you feel like you're losing your fucking mind. Like it's very, very psychological. The whole movie is psychological. They throw a little subtle comedy parts in it. At least I think so. The one thing that held this movie back, it could have been my number 1, if it wasn't for Shelley Duvall, who plays the wife, Wendy. The all-time worst performance I could ever remember in any movie. Well, any big movie, I should say. That's not a B movie. Yeah, she really ruined it for me. It's just bad. My favorite scene is hands down when the son is shaking on the bed. He's having not like a seizure. He's just shaking wildly because he's terrified. And he's playing this like this crazy horror beating. Like I said, the soundtrack just sets the mood. And then you see this lady she's sitting down in the bath, but she's behind the shower curtain. And you see her slowly pulling the shower curtain back while this movie is like the sounds are pulsating like doo, doo, doo. Then it goes back, it shows the little kid like shaking in the bed. It goes back to the shower scene. And you finally see this fucking lady in the bath and she is terrifying. Ooh. So scary. Anyways, still gives me goosebumps picturing it in my head right now. I'd probably watch that movie 10 times. I love it so much. Alright, so we made it to the final 2 on the Rotten Tomato list and my list. So at number 2, Rotten Tomatoes has Hereditary, 2018. I'm blanking out on who the actress is in this. She's one of my favorite actresses too, and I can't remember. I'll search it real quick though. Hereditary. Sorry, I just gotta get this chick's name because I love her. She's so good. Alright, so Hereditary has Toni Collette as the main actress. She's phenomenal in everything she does. But in this movie especially. I'll be honest, shit right now. I did not see this making a voted top 10 anywhere because a lot of people hate this movie. I never understood it. I think because it's confusing, especially the ending. It's also a very slow trip. Starts slow. It's a slow build, but when reaches like the last 45 minutes, it's unstoppable. Like the horror in it is unstoppable. Another great psychological film. Has a lot of Easter eggs that you'll miss, so you have to watch this more than once to get the full picture of it. And then when you watch it, Google the meaning, the meaning of the ending, because it's wild, and you won't figure it out the first time. Believe me, you won't. Yeah, like I said, this is one of those movies. So many people hate it, and I'll never understand why. Because to me, it's so epic. Hint, hint. So moving on to my number 2. The delicious appetizer before the full course meal is the original Exorcist, 1973. This was the first horror movie I watched. I didn't watch it in 1973, obviously. I was born in 1984, but I watched this movie when I was either 9 or 10 years old. My dad's like, "Hey, I have a scary movie. Do you want to watch it?" I said yes. And I was fucking terrified of this movie. Yeah, not a good movie to start with when you're starting out watching horror movies, but it made me a horror fan, that's for sure. I love this masterpiece. It's just brilliant in every way. And honestly, it hasn't aged that bad at all. Not as bad as I thought. I watched this like maybe 5 years ago. It still looked good. The effects, or like the makeup and everything, was really good. Alright, so we made it to the top spot. The number 1 cream of the crop of horror movies, according to Rotten Tomatoes, is The Exorcist Original. The same one I have at number 2. So they have it at number 1, I have The Exorcist at number 2. It just shows me the voters on the RT poll, Rotten Tomatoes poll, both know what the fuck they are talking about. It was a great choice by the voters of Rotten Tomatoes. Bravo. There. Little applause there. Alright, so my number 1, my main course of choice for horror movies that I've ever watched is Hereditary. This was their number 2 movie. This is my number 1 movie. Like I said, this is one of those movies, you either love it or you fucking hate it. Most people fucking hate it. This movie has gotten so much praise, but at the same time, bashed, like I said, by the horror fans. I already touched base on it. It has a confusing story, the ending, the slow burn. But to me, I love everything in this movie. Everything. Every scene. The eerie soundtrack. The psychological element to it. Like I said, Toni Collette, she plays the main role. Oh, so good. There's a scene in an attic where she's hanging from the ceiling. She already lost her mind at this point. She's possessed. And she has like a metal wire around her neck while she's hanging. And she's like sawing her fucking head off slowly. Oh. Yeah. That is the all-time creepiest scene for me in any movie. Yeah. Nightmare City. Well, that was a fucking ride. I had a great time making my list and brainstorming my top 10. The top 3 were easy for me. The rest of the list was very hard to make because I had so many horror movies in my brain that I had to pick and choose because some of them were really close. Surprisingly, I didn't have a Nightmare on Elm Street movie in here. I wanted to have Dream Warriors in it, but I don't know. As much as I love Freddy Krueger movies, they're not really scary to me. They're more entertaining. So I really couldn't justify putting one of them in my top 10. You could disagree in the comments or agree. I love when you guys comment and be a part of this with me. Yeah, so like I said, I left so many great ones off. It's hard to make a top 10 list for anything, honestly. So the honorable mentions that were on the brink of my top 10 that I didn't have on my top 10, but could have been there, was Halloween the Original, 13 Ghosts, really, really scary movie. Brain Scan, this was a 90s It was more of a, it was horror, but it was more of like a dark comedy. You had to watch it. Like this, Edward Furlong's in it, the little kid from Terminator 2. It's a typical 90s movie, but so this kid gets like he downloads a video game on his PC. It's called Brain Scan. So anything he does in the game happens in real life. So like, he's playing a game, he murders somebody. The next day, it's on the news. The same house, the same victim, in real life. So it's basically, it was a game simulator before the game simulators actually came out, but it's a horror movie. But it also has comedy in it because, like I said, it's more of a dark comedy than anything. Another movie on the list is Ghost Ship. It's about a haunted ghost ship, basically a cruise ship. Really good too. And Drag Me to Hell. Drag Me to Hell is a very goofy horror movie. I love it. It doesn't take itself seriously. It doesn't overdo it on gore. It's just really good. So like I mentioned in the beginning, whatever app you are listening on, feel free to comment your favorite horror movie. I want to look at some of the responses. I'll message you back, comment. Anyways, thanks for being a part of this. I've really enjoyed it. Hope you guys have a great Halloween. Hope you wear some fucking kick-ass costumes. I hope you have fun with your kids. Yeah, have a great Halloween. Goodbye, my fellow Petas. Stay safe. Thank you for listening in, my fellow Petas. Follow me on Facebook at Peta Joe Podcast, all lowercase, no spaces. Instagram, Peta, Joe, podcast, all lowercase letters. And on Twitter, at Peta Joe Podcast, all capitals. Like and subscribe on all the apps the Peta Joe Podcast is streaming on, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Apple, Google Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Samsung, TuneIn, Player FM, and last but not least, Podchaser. Thank you.